Evening. Trying to be slightly more quiet as we move through this, so because of the questions and the amount of emails I've gotten, I thought I should come on and do a little bit of context information about the campaign that's coming up. So there's been a lot of interest, which is great, and there's been a lot of folks putting forward characters, which is also great, and a lot of folks confused who didn't want to waste time by putting in characters that were done wrong, or they didn't want to put in a lot of time on one character when they could actually have three, sort of a thing. So I thought I'd come on and give a bit of context what's going on, and the rules that we're going to be working with, and the actual world itself, and the campaign setting that you're going to be taking part of. So here's some further rules and information. Okay. So first is a rule synopsis. These are the four things you should really remember when you're reading the rules. Alright, do not go into this game thinking it's Dungeons and Dragons. The rules have nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons. They have nothing to do with pretty much any role-playing game you've probably ever played. This isn't a piece of work where you're going to be going in from the start and you're going to be immediately thrown into loads of stats and damage rolls and saving throws, and there's nothing like that in the game. There is one mechanic in terms of rolling, and it is, how many points do you have in a certain stat? Great. That is the amount of dice, d6s you're rolling. How many 5s and 6s did you get? Okay, well those are successes. How successful were you? Let's see. That's literally the only mechanic that's in the game. And we build off that mechanic and do different things. So almost all working out of damage and successes is contextual. And what I mean by that is, well, basically, did you get a lot of success rolls? Good, things will happen. In a life or death situation and roll badly, well, you'll probably die. Okay, so as you can probably see, the storyteller, which is this game's version of a games master, uses their own judgment to be the computer that you're playing with. I'm doing all the calculations in my head as a storyteller. Okay, well, if this person rolls this badly, what should happen to them? And so in the game, basically, you are trying to get more powerful, and you will get more powerful as you go through the campaign if you keep surviving. But it's all about telling a story and seeing what happens in that story. That's the main thing that we're going for here, and that's the main thing to remember. Okay, and some problems outside of combat can be solved with flashbacks. Now, this is something else that people weren't able to get their head around, and I don't blame them. Flashbacks are a very weird thing in role-playing games. So, let's say you're trying to get into an estate. Yeah? Let's say you're trying to get into an estate, for a party. Or, let's say that shit is about to hit the fan. Okay? In a gathering, a diplomatic gathering of kings, you're noticing there are assassins around. Well, you can call a flashback, and what that will allow you to do is describe to the GM and to the other players how the previous night you snuck in, and we'll roleplay this very quickly, you snuck in and hid weapons somewhere in the room, or in the castle somewhere, okay? That is all up for debate, by the way. So There are certain ways that you can use flashbacks and certain ways where you shouldn't use flashbacks. For instance, I've seen someone, there was an example online of a GM doing this completely in the wrong way, where he had a gang in a game called Blades in the Dark. He had a gang that communicated in sign language. Okay? Now, when the party came across this gang, one of them immediately called a flashback where he said, "I've learnt that sign language." That should be impossible, because you don't even know the sign language exists until they came across it. So it's metagaming of the highest nature, right? That's not what flashbacks allow you to do. You can only flashback things that would be feasible for your character to have done. So if you say, oh, if you're going up against a boss character and you say, oh, I want to call a flashback where I assassinated him, no, it won't work. It won't happen. All right, I will not allow that. You can't metagame. But if you come across an obstacle in the moment that you feel like with some preparation you could have overcome, because it would have been feasible for your characters to do that, to make that preparation to combat it, then you can call a flashback. Flashbacks also fail. You can fail flashbacks, where you don't get what you want, and you actually come back to the action with like a bit of a wound or something like that, that you suffered the night before. What all the flashbacks allow us to do is keep the action rolling. Instead of everyone sitting there and doing plans and plans and plans and plans all the time, flashbacks allow us to snap away to another bit of action and snap back again into the present moment, without having to sit there going over rules. Essentially, when you've decided what missions you're going to do as a squad, that's it. You go to do the mission. Okay? That's it. There's no sitting down, talking about it. You just go and do it. And we use flashbacks to decide just how things are going to go from here on in. You can do a little bit of planning. I will allow for that because it's realistic. But in-depth planning, no. You need to trust the fact that I'll be able to sort you out as you go, sort of a thing. So the setting is KALELAND. So the map of it is there. You'll be seeing the map once you are in the game as well. That is the hex grid, and if you can see the skull in the upper middle part of the map there, which is by a place called the Gallows in KLB, and that is where the Legion lands. That is where you are. Okay, and where the Legion moves in those hexes is completely up to you guys. You're making your way down to the away from the invading hordes. So you'll be moving southwest away from the northeast is what you'll be doing. So it's based on Dark Age Britain, okay, but it's Dark Age Britain in the Scorched Earth. So it's Dark Age Britain where gods are real, magic is real, mythological beasts are real. So yeah, you're gonna have to be very, 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 very careful about magic, things like that. Dragons roost in the mountains of Wales, so there are lots of dragons around in Wales. Dwarves control the mountain passes, okay, and druids roam from town to town, calling upon nature to guide the people. So this is a very much an old Brittonic Britain, okay, Brythonic Britain. The Falkir have taken much of the south, and there are constant wars with the Kales. The Kale is the ruler. They are the kings of this land, okay. So that is where you'll be playing. So it's a beautiful place, as Britain is, or used to be, in terms of the countryside and places like that. But it's also a place that's rife with danger. All right. And these three main powers, they're not friendly with each other. They are nearly constantly at war. So you'll have to find some way to band them together to fight the exiled king before you're absolutely annihilated by him and his forces as they come south. This is the Dark Age of KALELAND, but things will get better later on if you succeed. Alright? So how KALELAND looks and how Europe looks as a whole is pretty much up to you. Alright? It's pretty much up to you. Because without your intervention, the exiled king will ride roughshod over most of the world, including KALELAND, which is his first target. So the makeup of the campaign. So there will be a 4-player Legion command. Okay, this will be made up of players elected from each squad. So each squad that you have, all right, in the campaign, will elect one member to go and be a Legion commander. Okay, right. So we'll have 3 4-player squads that head out on missions. Okay, so we're looking for 12 players. We've got 9 at the moment. You are encouraged to make as many characters as you like. Okay, for if one falls, you can easily pick up with another. So I don't really care. You're never going to run out of men. Okay, I don't really care how many characters you make, because every single time you lose one morale point, and if you lose too many, the campaign will end with the Legion disbanding. So, Legion Command characters can take part in missions, and I encourage them to take part in missions because you get loads of buffs for taking part in missions with Legion characters, but losing them can be catastrophic for morale. Alright. And the last Legion also has a seer. This is an incredibly powerful NPC warrior, who it is said is destined to defeat the great darkness of the exiled king. Keeping him alive is vital to overall victory. Okay? So if you've read about the campaign setting, the seers are basically mages. And if you keep this guy alive, he may be able to win the campaign for you. I am telling you now, if you lose your seer, alright, if the Legion loses its last seer, and there's only one, that you cannot win the campaign. You can stall the exiled king for long enough, but you're never going to be able to turn him back or defeat him. Okay? You can stall him to give everyone on Europe time to prepare for his invasion, but you're never going to be able to get out of it alive, basically. You'll basically be forced to have the ultimate choice of keeping some of your characters alive, but letting the exiled king invade, like, properly, or halting the exiled king but making the ultimate sacrifice, so that when he finally invades the mainland, they'll be able to either turn him back or contain his invasion. Okay? So, that is the campaign. That's what we'll be doing. If we don't get enough players, if we end up going with 9, then I'll just cherry pick 4 players to be the Legion Command. And eventually, we'll see how things pan out as things go on. Alright? So, have fun making your characters. And, yeah, I'll speak to you a little bit later on.